Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you and welcome to our meeting. We will be having a work session first, which is unusual for our legislative. I am Kim Jeffrey. I am acting in the role of Deputy Town Supervisor. Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg was unable to be here tonight. She apologizes. She will be here next week. So with that, we're going to welcome to April 26th, 2016 work session. We are going to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Dottori?
Present.
Deputy Supervisor Jeffrey?
Present.
Councilperson Feldman?
Present.
And Councilperson Wilshire? Thank you. Does the board have any, you're going into your work session?
Yes,
which
we are
is
in.
mortgage recording tax redistribution.
Yes. So, a little bit of an overview about this. We spoke about this a few times last year, possibly one time in the previous year. So it's come up a couple of times. But as a quick overview, the mortgage recording tax is a tax which people pay when they sell houses, when they sell a house. And all of that money goes to Westchester County. Westchester County amasses the funds and they collect it based on the origin and locations of the houses. And then they have a formula. They distribute the money back to the municipalities. So money comes back to the town of Ossining for all of the properties that have sold within the village of Briarcliff, within the village of Ossining, and the unincorporated town. Based on a formula, there are funds that are split between the entities as such. The village of Briarcliff gets a portion, the village of Ossining receives a portion, and the rest of it, by law, goes into the town general fund. We have had some discussions here previously about the fact that no portion of the mortgage recording tax is put specifically into the fund for the unincorporated town. And what sets us apart in the town of Ossining is that we are unique in that our unincorporated town is the smallest portion. If you look at the town of Cortland, if you look at the town of Mount Pleasant, the town of Greenberg, all of those towns, the town portion is a much bigger portion of population and of land where their villages are smaller. We are different here in Ossining. And so there's been a conversation about whether or not the unincorporated towns should be receiving a portion rightfully of the money that they put in. So this week we're talking about, since we've had this conversation, we've also contacted the comptroller's office. The comptroller's office discussed it. They have an opinion that says it goes into the town general fund. They said that it wouldn't be too difficult for the town of Ossining to ask for home rule, which means we would ask our state legislators, Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff and Senator David Carlucci, to put up a bill to have that changed specifically for the town of Ossining. So today the conversation would be about furthering that and whether we would be voting yes on that next week on a resolution to ask for home rule from our state legislators and have them put in a bill. So comments from the board? Are we going to be reading this? Well, I guess we can ask our, Maddie, if you want to talk about what is the financial implications, what kind of money are we talking about?
That was my question.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Hello. So the board has a document that is 3 pages long. The first one is a narrative, as Councilwoman Jeffrey pointed out, that we had shared with the sitting board last November. This has come up a couple of times before. So we actually did a full analysis of what the dollars and cents actually look like. But it's important to remember that the apportionment of these funds are based on percentage of assessment. So it's not how many houses were sold in Briarcliff and then they get that amount of money and so on and so forth. So we broke it down to look like a rather simple math problem. But basically what you're doing is you take the entire assessment for all of the town of Ossining, so the village of Ossining, the unincorporated area, and the village of Briarcliff Manor portion in the town, and you double that assessment, and then you sort of break it out from there. So this narrative sort of goes through based on the simple example and then what the real numbers were in 2015 in terms of assessment. The village of Ossining was 43%, the village of Briarcliff was 38%, and the unincorporated area was around 19. This is sort of a moving target just because we're in between budget years and so on and so forth. But what we had said at the time was that the town general fund has budgeted for the past 3 budgets $485,000 for this revenue. If you go to your second sheet, you can see what, again, and this is only the town general portion. This doesn't count what the village of Briarcliff Manor received as a revenue in their budget or what the village of Ossining took in. But you can see in 2014, 2015, and 2016, we held the line at $485,000. In 2014, we went over by a little over $47,000, meaning we had a surplus. We had less of a surplus in 2015, but there was still a surplus of almost $14,000. So we continue to budget that conservatively because if you go all the way back to 2007, you see that the market has changed wildly, even in the past couple of years. As we know, the housing market is very different than it once was, but it's also not terribly predictable. We got less last year than we've gotten in the past 9. So if you go to the third sheet, the Deputy Comptroller, Del Ferrara, put together a spreadsheet based on actual. So this is the actual amount received from all 3 municipalities in 2014. And she's broken it down by percentage of assessment and then what the unincorporated area would have received in 2014 if this situation had been in play then. So the town had budgeted $485,000. The town would have only gotten, in the town general, $408,440, and the unincorporated area would get about $76,560. So like I said, it is a moving target. If we look forward to this year with some assessments changing and all of the changes that we've seen, it would be safe to say that the change in the general fund would be about a 2.47% increase. So our general fund is rather small. So every, $30,000 is a point. So by taking out that amount of revenue, that would be a 2.47% tax rate increase in the general fund. But it would create a tax decrease in the unincorporated area fund. So for the general fund, the 2016 budget, it was a 1.89% increase. So if we had done the redistribution, that would have been a 4.36% increase instead in the general fund. In the unincorporated area, we had a 0.41% increase for 2016. If this formula had been enacted, it would be a tax decrease of 1.17%. So that's what the dollar figures look like. I'm not sure, how the legislation would play out. If you get the home rule, does that occur mid-year, or would we be talking about next year's budget cycle? We'd have to have that conversation further down the road to see how to plan.
If the legislation were to pass, well, first of all, I can answer some of this. The way that works out is even if the bills go up, the governor has to sign it, and the governor has I think almost a year for, he can deny, he has a certain amount of time, he has a fairly decent amount of time before he has to sign certain bills. So it could be a lag. We don't know. We can never be sure. So it could pass and he could sign it, but he has a significant amount of time to wait. I don't think it's not more than a year, but, or he could not sign it and let it just not happen, or he could decide not to sign it at all. So, it's not 100% what happens. If it were to be passed and signed this year, we probably could ask for language in it that just states that it does not start or come
Take
into
effect.
effect until 2017 tax roll or some such thing, not to make it difficult or retroactive. I'm not, that's one of those conversations I think we could have now in terms of it. I would say that I brought this. It was brought to my attention. I am the person who brought it up originally. I think it's the right thing to do with the villages receiving their portion. And like I said, it's been being done the legal way, the way it is written. Although there are questions as to whether the interpretation by the comptroller's office on the real property tax law is quite accurate. And so I think if we have the ability to provide the unincorporated town with its portion of funds that, come from them partly, then that should be done. And so to be clear, the portion that we've talked about in terms of funding that the town general has received has been, give or take, $480,000 like last year. And that if this had been done last year, the amount of money that the unincorporated town would get would be about $80,000. Just so we're not talking about taking the full amount from the town general, and we're not talking about, depleting it. We're talking about a percentage of the portion from the town general portion to go into the unincorporated town. Any comments on the board?
I do. One of my questions is, will this automatically put us over the tax cap? Does that mess with our tax cap, or will it?
I think that would be a better question for Dale, but I don't think that it would, because you're moving from one pot into the other. It would be a large increase in the general fund, certainly. But that would be a question for Dale as to how it actually affected the budget overall in terms of revenues and expenses.
Okay, because that's something I'd like to find out.
Well, I think I would say to that also, just remember that the town general fund is paid for by the entire town.
No, I get that.
So the increase, I guess we should talk, but the increase to individuals would probably not be, I would not think be as significant due to the fact that you're talking about a larger spread of individuals. But that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, of course, the impact to the people is important. I'm talking about how our hands are tied for the tax cap that the state has for us. Like, are we going to go over that just by shifting? Which is what we have to talk to Dale.
I have a question too, because this has come up. People have brought this to my attention too, so I'm aware that it's an issue. I am a little bit concerned with the implications of what would happen in terms of cuts that would need to be made to the town general fund, and whether or not, to really balance the pros and cons. I think we need to have a good sense of what would be in jeopardy and what we'd be gaining. So, because we, as residents of the town outside still benefits from a lot of this. I'm just concerned of cuts that may need to be made, and if we're not sort of creating a wash here.
I got it. We got it.
Ooh.
Okay. Thank you. I felt it. I was trying to remember. I know we've gone through this before, and I was trying to remember what was some of the comments made. And as of right now, I can't recall it as well as I would like, and I think I need to read something. But I wanted to know right now, what goes into the, let's just say the town, what the town outside, I'm assuming that's what this mostly. What do they Is it on here? Those,
So I think so none of the money from the mortgage recording tax at this time goes back to the unincorporated town. But what you're looking at that Maddie did shows what it would have been. So
Okay.
instead of $485,000, which last year went to the town general, I think what Maddie is saying is 408,000
mm-hmm.
would have gone to the town general, and this is 76,000. That's what would have gone into the unincorporated town.
Okay. But what did go in?
Nothing, because the unincorporated town at this time does not get any of the money, and that's what this is about.
Oh,
So any house that is sold in the unincorporated town, houses that are sold in Briarcliff, and houses that are sold in the village of Austining, the money, the tax that, they pay we pay so much money on taxes, right? So, the taxes that are paid to the county, they send back to us through a formula. They keep some, but they send it back. And then when they send it back, the village of Briarcliff gets some of their money, and the village of Austining gets some of their money, but the unincorporated town does not get any of their money. It goes into the town general fund, and that is the way it's written to be. So it's not that anything's been done wrong. It's correct in terms of how the interpretation of it is. What we are asking is, or what we might be asking for is a change, so that a portion, and that's what that example is, would go into the unincorporated town. And I think, to me, that's part of the story, which is that at the end of the day, the unincorporated town is not receiving money that they should rightfully be getting back. And the difference between our town and, like I said, these other towns is money in the town of Cortland, for instance. Their villages, I think Buchanan might be a hamlet, are smaller. And so when the money is going into the town general, it absolutely is much more benefiting their unincorporated, because their unincorporated basically is their population. The same for Greenberg, the same for Mount Pleasant. I'm sure we could talk about, we spoke to the state, and the state recognized that we are just simply different. We're just made up different. And so I think the negative effects to the unincorporated town by not providing them their own rightful share of the money is felt much deeper, since the budget is much smaller. Where we could talk to Dale about the actual financial implications to the town general in terms of a tax increase, I just don't believe it will be felt significantly. We're not talking about a huge sum of money here.
Well, I want to clarify. I did just check with Dale, and I was correct. Moving that money, moving that money from one pot into the other doesn't change the tax cap. So to answer your question, it does not. However, to answer Councilwoman DeTore's question, if you were to maintain the same level of service in town general fund departments, that would require you to raise the tax cap, because about $80,000 means a couple
Something.
employees
Or an
a
employee or
program, or so to sort of answer both of your questions at the same time, simply moving the money doesn't affect the tax cap. It doesn't affect how much we're allowed, because you're moving it from bucket A to bucket B. But to maintain the same level of service would require overriding the tax cap at that point.
And to that, my suggestion is that we look at some things that we could be doing with respect to the town general, just to save more money in certain places. And that's one of those ways we can look at it.
Yeah, no, I think it's just important, because the town outside still benefits from the town general fund. So if the net decrease in services, I think we really have to evaluate how we're getting the biggest bang for the buck, because one of the things that's of value in the way I see it in the town general fund is you have greater economy of scale. So $80,000 in the town general fund can go a lot farther than $80,000 in a much smaller pool of money. So I really would want to understand what would be the impact on services for people in the town outside if we were to there may be an impact that's felt that we're not really realizing right now.
And if it's not in the general funds,
It would go into the 20 fund, which is for the unincorporated, so.
because that's Michael's.
Yeah, but it also is special, I mean.
I want to just clarify for everybody, maybe who was listening and people who watch this later on. So what we're talking about is the unincorporated area fund is where it would materialize, which we call the 20 fund. So the items in that fund are the town building department, planning, zoning, and our police contract with the Village of Ossining. That's it. The 31 fund, which Northern, like you said, is Michael O'Connor's, the highway fund, that shares the same taxing body as the 20 fund. So that is a combined rate. So basically, if you're adding more money into that pot, you lower the tax rate combined for those two departments. It doesn't affect the special districts. It's just building, planning, zoning, police contract, highway department.
Well, police contract is significant. And, so, you know, and snow removal, other than this year, although the salt was still significant. So, well, I think we've talked about a little bit. I don't know, we are coming up on we have a deadline issue. If bills are going to be put in, they have to be put in now, basically. And so if we are going to vote on this next week, we were thinking about voting on this, on a resolution. So I think we can discuss further. Nope, we can't. I guess this is the discussion, pretty much. Maybe you can look at some of your questions through Dale on, I think,
Yeah,
I
have a
would say
question.
to this, while we want to keep services and we will do everything we can, I think we very much look at bottom lines, how to do more with less. I think we are assisted in a few ways. We do get state money for certain projects, and we will continue to work with our legislators on doing that. I think there are a few ways that we can take a look at saving some money in the general. And so I think we don't have to sacrifice too much on those kinds of things. At the same time, again, I go back to the fact that that's a bigger pool, and this is a smaller pool. And as it stands right now, just on a fairness level, it's just not distributed in a fair way. The people who are paying in are not getting anything back. While what's happening at this time, if you think about this, is while the two villages are receiving their portion, by putting it in the town general fund, they are also benefiting from that. So they are benefiting twice, where unincorporated is benefiting once because they're benefiting from town general, but they're not getting any of their money back. And that's, you know, I mean, I know we're adults and not everything is fair, but sometimes we try to make it fair.
Kim or Maddie, I have a question. The town outside fund doesn't have any of the Parks Department in it?
No.
Okay.
The
recreation IMA, but that's programmatic only. That's not anything to do with the parks.
Okay, but the parks that are
the parks that are in the town of
Outside.
The unincorporated town are in the general fund at this time.
are all out of the general fund? Okay.
That the Parks Department is paid out of the town general fund.
No, I'm just trying to understand. Okay. I didn't realize that. I thought that the unincorporated area would be part of the, okay.
Well,
I'd like to understand that better.
The unincorporated area does pay part of it because it pays through the town general, and everybody pays into the town general.
Okay, but like as a village resident, I pay into the town general for the town parks, and then I also pay into the village for the village parks.
I don't know that that's a conversation for tonight.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm trying to understand how it all works and how the general fund and the unincorporated fund are different,
Oh, we-
and what value we get from either.
So the parks are in, at this time, the town
And the
general
gen-
fund.
Okay,
I didn't make that happen that way. That
No,
is
no, no,
how
I'm
it
just-
is. But I think the thinking is that everybody benefits from the park. And
True.
also probably that the bigger portion of the people who might utilize it are from the villages. Because the population is bigger. I don't, you know.
Okay, but it's not in their backyard. But okay,
Sounds true.
it's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand where the money is going and could come from, and where it would be made up, and
No,
this money
absolutely.
wouldn't go toward any of the parks. So
No,
I'm just trying to understand how it all fits together
no, no, no.
in that way. I haven't gone through a budget process yet, so I'm not.
You're
Yeah,
correct.
And I just want to say, I really, because I'm a town outside resident myself, so I understand the implications, the fairness, and I completely get the desire to treat all taxpayers fairly. I am concerned when I hear, though, that we could, if we exceed, I only know because, sitting in, even though we were on the tail end of the budgeting process, I know there's not a tremendous amount of fat in the, I don't think there's any fat really in the town general fund. I think it's being run pretty efficiently. And my concern is if it causes, if this shift causes us to exceed the tax cap, aren't we gonna pay anyway? So what's, again, I want to be fair, but I want to be practical too. Because again, it's a significant sum of money, but where is it best spent? So that's my concern, is I'm not,
I will say, last year in the budgeting process, a bunch of money was moved from the town general fund into the unincorporated fund. There was 33% of certain salaries because the thought process was at that time that those individuals work on unincorporated things, and so that, for that reason. So at that time, there was money shifted from the unincorporated into the general insofar as that it wasn't taken from the general, and that was considered to be fair. So, if in the same vein that we are trying to, we also looked at the parks and recreation, and unincorporated people were paying more, and the previous town supervisor worked on an IMA which changed that, and so now unincorporated town people are paying the same as the village. So I think there's always this push and a balance to try and make things fair and put things where they should be, and there can always be a conversation about where things should be and if that should be different, not necessarily just the way that's the way it's always been. But so to that, I would say I do understand, but we've made changes the other way as well. And that was considered fair. And there were some implications there. Now, so I don't know what our next step is, Maddie. Do we have to decide now whether we want to vote on this, or?
I mean, what we can do is put together a resolution, and then sort of see how it plays out. But based on the conversations, I mean, would you guys like to see what $80,000 looks like in the general fund? I mean, I understand looking for cost savings, and we always try to do that, but we're not gonna find $80,000. That's not happening. So, that's sort of a conversation that you all need to have, is, do you want the resolution and then, go from there? Or is there anything else, other material that you want from us?
Where are you?
I'm definitely not ready to make a decision. But I do feel it would be fair to have that money go to, but I'd like to know what the cost to the whole town is, so.
Yeah, and I say this because in the interest of fairness is very, very important, obviously, but if we, everybody benefits from the monies in the town general fund, and if we end up, shortchanging the town general fund, the gain, may not outweigh the losses, and that's what I'm really concerned of. There is still a benefit. It's not that the town outside doesn't benefit from this, and I understand, what the equity issue is, but I would like to see what the impact would be on the budget and what we were talking about, and then we can have a more practical, I think a more realistic discussion of does it make sense if we know we're potentially gonna lose X, Y, Z in services? And then what do we gain by putting it in, is the gain by putting it in the, town outside fund outweigh that or not? I'm concerned about that.
I just have one thing. I want to look back at some papers I'm hoping that I still have. I remember something, but I can't
Grasp it.
get it together right now. But I would like, I will not vote on it.
Yeah, no, we're not voting tonight.
What I would sort of recommend is we have a pretty dense work session next week, but maybe we could put this at the end of the work session, then do a special meeting at the end with a resolution, so everyone can sort of digest. If there are any more questions that you want to throw back at us, we have a couple of days to throw something together, and then you guys can have another discussion, when you have some more numbers in front of you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Dale, as well. And Dana.
Yes, thank you all. Okay, so now, can I have a motion to close the work session and open the legislative meeting?
Second.
Aye. Okay, so, announcements. We do have some announcements. There's always so much going on, and a lot of announcements. Okay, bear with me. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. There are a lot of events taking place this Saturday. The Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy will be hosting their first gravestone cleaning of the year. It's between 9 and noon. You can meet them at Dale Cemetery, no experience required, and participants might get an OHCC t-shirt. I think they will get one as a thank you. Also, same day, Saturday, the Ossining Historical Society will be hosting its annual Historic Sites Tour, which runs from 12 noon until 3. The tour is followed by wine and cheese reception. There might be tickets, and you can call 941-0001 to book a spot. Also this Saturday is a free Latin jazz concert to celebrate International Jazz Day. It will be at the public library and will be hosted by Pablo Mayor. I hope that's and his quintet Folklore Urbano at 2 p.m. in Boot Arts Theater. The Columbus Lodge, I guess, this is Sunday, May 1st, the Columbus Lodge, along with the Ossining PBA, will be hosting their 13th annual Classic Car Show. That's going to be at the Ossining train station. It starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there will be music, entertainment, food, and a 50-50 raffle, and free popcorn. Also, we will be disconnecting the old the town of Ossining Police Department phone number. That number used to be 762-6007. That will be disconnected. This is a non-emergency line. From now on, you will be reaching directly to the town of Ossining Police Department at 941-4099. And of course, always call 911 for any emergency. It seems that we're going to have some big events with respect to cleanup, continuing out of our Green Day and going into Stash the Trash. So sorry about that. Stash the Crash. No. Say that 4 times over and over. You try. It's a 2-week event this year, and you can pick up gloves, bags, safety vests, and instructions Monday through Saturday at the front desk. Okay. At the front desk of the community center. So through May 7th, they ask that you take pictures while you're cleaning up, so take fun pictures. Ossining's first Health and Wellness Day it also is the kickoff of Mind, Body, Spirit Ossining, and that will take place at Lewis Engel Park on May 7th. May 7th is a Saturday. And you can check out what the local fitness businesses have to offer. Also on May 7th, which is a Saturday, I Love My Parks Day between 9:30 and 3 at the Old Croton Aqueduct Historic Park. For those who don't know where that is, where, Captain Craven, where would that be? Yeah, including me. Yes. Well, you know,
Yeah, if you go to the website, if you go to, I think it's the New York State Parks website, and there's an events page, you can just put in your zip code, and it's the first thing that pops up.
excellent.
Yeah.
So help improve the Aqueduct Trail by cutting down vines, removing invasive plants, and picking up trash. And yes, visit the New York State Parks events page. And then lastly that I know of it's a little further out, but we start now and we'll continue announcing it on Saturday, May 14th. Senator Carlucci's office, he has adopted a portion of a highway, that highway being Route 9 North Highland. And so they're going to be cleaning up. The office will be helping, and hopefully the whole community and maybe some Girls and Boy Scouts and anybody who wants to come. The area from Cedar Lane all the way to where Mystic Point is. So it's a stretch, but not all of it is super dirty, so that'll be helpful. But we'll pick up what we can and make it look nice along the road so that when people drive up and down to Peekskill and Croton and down to Terrytown and further, that they will see nice roads. And the meeting spot is going to be at All Aboard, which is the daycare center right there. But we will give more specific information as we get closer. And you can also call Senator Carlucci's office at 941-2041. Does anybody else have announcement?
I do. All right. Clearview School is holding a antiques appraisal day on Saturday, April 30th, from 10 a.m., I believe, to 5 p.m. There's signs all over town about it, but it's at Clearview School. It's a fundraiser to benefit Clearview School, and it's a good time to clear out your attic and find out if you have any treasure hidden there.
Any other?
It's not actually an announcement, but it's, I just wanted to congratulate, I guess it's the Parks Department for the walkway coming down
Oh, DPW.
but right behind my house.
Yeah.
And I see dogs, peoples, and carriages, and yeah.
It's
Well,
the
I can't sit outside much anymore now.
Oh, yeah. So it's called the Sing Sing Kill Greenway?
Greenway, okay.
Yes. And
But
yeah.
it's really nice, and the people are taking advantage of it. I see even they come from down the little hill and jump over the
Oh, boy.
over the railings and coming on. But they were doing that before that was down there.
Oh,
So
okay.
they were coming down the brook from up there anyway. So that's not new. But I just wanted to say the people are taking advantage of it, and I think everybody, they really enjoy it, and it's nice. It's really nice.
Absolutely. I agree. I'd like to really congratulate the village for taking that on. That was a sewer project that they had to do, and so they had the forward thinking to make a project and do more with it. And now it's a beautiful place to go. And if anybody doesn't know what it is, it's a walkway that goes down along a creek. And you can access it by going to the recreation center to the second parking lot, the further down parking lot, and there's an entrance there. There's also an entrance which people might or might not know on Central Avenue, which so you could, if you start at one place, you can go out the other or the other way, as Mr. Wiltshire said. So it is beautiful. Yes. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments on the agenda items. Not seeing anyone, we'll move into board resolutions. Resolve the town board of the town of Ossing hereby approves the April 12th, 2016 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolve the town board of the town of Ossing hereby approves the voucher detail report dated April 26, 2016, in the amount of $453,216.56. Do I have a motion?
Second.
So for the benefit of anybody watching now or later, can you just explain to people the amount? 'Cause it's a big amount.
Yeah. Well, we are down to only one voucher detail at a time, which is great news. We're finally done with 2015.
Yay.
I did make note of some of the larger expenses. One sticks out very brightly. It's the Briarcliff Fire IMA, and that's a charge that we pay once a year. So we have an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Briarcliff Manor for fire protection services in the unincorporated area. And then in a different portion of the unincorporated area, we have an IMA with the Village of Ossining for fire protection services.
Right.
So
And
this is a
those-
one-time bill, and it's $149,000. So
For the,
that's
for the Briarcliff
for the
portion.
Briarcliff, correct.
That seems like it went down.
It changes a little bit. It went down like 2 years ago, and now I believe it's up about 3% this year.
Okay.
And then as for the other bills, most of them are pretty routine, but some are big. We have a contractual payment for OVAC, so we pay them 6 times a year. That's just shy of $100,000 as well. Our medical bill is about $110,000, but to remind everyone, that's before contributions, so before any employee contributions or retiree contributions, so on. And then our monthly payment to Suburban Carding is in there as well.
This is the new pump, the new sewer lift station pump at, it says OBCC. That's it, they installed a new pump outside in the sewer lift station, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay, I was unaware of that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the town of Ossing provides a nutrition program to residents, and whereas Section 873.301 of the Westchester County Sanitary Code requires that the permit to operate is completed 60 days prior to the date of expiration. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossing hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign this renewal to be completed and delivered to the county by the nutrition department manager. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I just want to, for anybody who does not know out there, I think Senior Nutrition Program does not explain enough what this program is. The town of Ossining is lucky to have this program. It is based out of the recreation, the community center on the bottom floor. And it is where seniors are able to go, they can get meals, they can take lessons. I think there's dancing on certain days, there's bingo on certain days, there's art on certain days, but it's a place to gather, and I've visited there often, and there's a camaraderie, and it's neighborhood, and it's community, and it's just a really nice thing to have for us, for our community to take advantage of. So if you know somebody who is senior, who may be new to the community, or maybe just doesn't know about it and you've heard about it, have them call the Senior Nutrition Program and inquire.
Also included in that is they deliver meals. They have a call service, find out if some of the people are, they're well, or how they're doing.
That's right.
It's a lot that's unseen there that the community is doing, that the village and town is doing for the community. So I just wanted to add them two things because they're important, especially to the shut-ins, for delivery and for the call every day or what that they get.
I just because it's been a conversation lately, this is one of those programs that's funded by the town general fund. And so, sometimes you wonder, what do you where does your money go, right? Where do your taxes go? And when I pay for this or that. So this senior nutrition program, which is vitally important to the shut-ins and those who are senior who come out and have extended relationships, you know, by coming out and staying active and in touch. This is one of those things that your taxes pay for.
I'd just like to clarify that by shut-in, it could be somebody who just had a hip replacement or is sick. They're not necessarily shut-ins, but people recovering and they're unable to go do their grocery shopping, or they just wanted somebody to call and make sure they didn't fall with that new hip. And this program will do it on a temporary or permanent basis, depending on whatever people's needs are. So even if you have a medical, you know, condition that's going to be temporarily where you need a little assistance, this is the kind of program that would be happy to help you.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence to be received and filed. Resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby accepts the following: Planning Board meeting minutes dated March 16th, 2016, GE helicopter report for the month of March 2016, Town Zoning Board of Appeals application Zelensky dated March 21st, 2016. And that's it. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That brings us to visitor recognition. Not seeing anyone. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you ever have any questions, please reach out to the Office of the Town Supervisor, and that number is 762-6001. No, I know it by heart. And have a great evening. It's a little rainy tonight, but we have been having great weather. So enjoy, and last thing.
Yeah, just before you close, I just want to tell you, you did a great job tonight. Hang in there.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
yes, you did.
Aw, shucks. All right.
All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?